Welcome back to the Level Plumbing Square. This is the third in a three-part series on building an adirondack chair out of wine barrel staves. Today we'll attach the back and the seat as well as install the final brace and get the chair ready for its finish.
Now that we have the back completed, I've filled all the holes with plugs, sanded them flush, or trimmed them flush and then sanded it flush. We're ready to go ahead and put the back on the chair. The first thing I've done here, you notice I've made some marks based on what the plan said, and then I put some clamps there to kind of hold that in place. I'll be backing it up with these other clamps that I have right here. I just have those in place, keep it handy. And I also have a strap clamp here to put around the top of the chair so that I can get it to the right angle once I have that assembled. So put that in place. Just get something back here to hold it when I get on the other side. Just put this up on top, and now you can see we're starting to see the shape of the chair come into play here. I'll go ahead and make sure I get everything just the way I want it. We're going to use a pair of dividers. We're just going to mark the gap because we have a couple curved surfaces here and they're going wrong. So I'll pick the widest curve. We'll go ahead and lay that out, both sides, mark that, get it cut and shaped so that this bottom stretcher here matches, conforms to the leg, and then we'll do the same with the arms. The arms are going to sit up here. They'll be in tight. Again, we're going to scribe that to fit. And one of the things that you always look for when you're laying these out is that the arms are always the biggest or the widest boards you have, because that's where obviously your arms are going to be resting and you want to be most comfortable. Now that I've scribed and got these back stretchers fitted to the legs, I'm ready to move up to the arms. And the first thing you want to do is obviously you want the arms to be probably the widest board out of everything you have, like I mentioned before, because it's got to be able to cover this front part. It looks really bad when you have a part of a vertical piece sticking out past, so it's nice to have that kind of cap like that. Made a little jig just so that I'm consistent from either side for the amount of overhang I have. I just line that up on both sides so everything's the same. I've already scribed this to shape, ran some lines across the end here. And now I'm getting ready to just take the sander to it, and I will go ahead and get that shaped. One of the things you have to be aware of is on your arms, because every barrel stave is different, make sure you keep the orientation correct as far as what's pointing front, and then the sides the same, so that you're always putting the same stave in the same spot. Well, I've gone and finished scribing in, and
Oh, the joys of my learning curve here. Basically what you missed, I used the belt sander to get the front legs flush to the arm, and then I just used a small saw to cut a few curves and some chisels to clean that out to make sure that the arms were scribed tightly to the back of the chair. Now I'm just going to be using some stainless steel fasteners. I'll be using 3 in the front and 3 in the back to secure the arms tightly to the chair.
I'm starting to work on laying out for the seat, and one of the things that you need to really be careful of is picking the right boards for that. You want to make sure they all have the same basic curve. Otherwise, when you're sitting on them, it's going to be a real uneven sitting situation. Now, the other thing to watch out for, as you can see on this one, sometimes the barrel staves will get kind of blistered inside and they'll come up with these lumps in there and they'll crack, and those just become pinch points later on when you're sitting in it. So you want to avoid having those. There's a lot of other places you can put barrel staves with pinches in it, but in the seating area is not one I would recommend. You're going to need a couple of wider seats or wider staves as the front and the back stave, because those are going to be coped to the chair, or excuse me, scribed to the chair itself. So I'm going ahead and laying this out, and I can see that for the most part the ones I have out here in the front are pretty good. These in the back, I don't know if you can see how, I'll try to lay this out this way. You can see how much lower this stave right here is to the one behind it. So if I were to put this one in the middle of the chair, that's going to sit up higher and cause some discomfort. I'm going to go ahead and start with probably a couple wider staves. Here, I think I like this one here. It's a nice clean stave, and we're just going to bring that up. We're going to even it out on both sides, and you can see that it's going to sit back quite a ways in the chair. If I tip this chair up, you can see it easier. You can see it's going to sit back quite a ways. So we'll measure back from the front of the chair, set our scribe, and then bring that around. And I'll show you how to do that here in just a second. Okay, this is kind of a top view looking down. I've gone ahead and set my compasses, the distance from the front of the leg to the front of the stave that's going to be the front part of the seat. And I've got that set right to the edge there. And these are not going to be the same as you go from one side to the other, but you get them as close as you can. And so that's gonna, I'm just gonna bring this back. You'll see this will be my scribe coming back. And then I'm gonna just scribe along this line, and I'm gonna bring this out as far as I can. I'll do this on both sides. And this just gives me a starting point, because there'll be a lot of refining to this process. But that looks pretty good there. I'll just do it on the other side. Okay, I went ahead and cut these as close as I could, and then I came back and I set the stave in place, and I went ahead and marked, because this is going to come in at an angle, and I wasn't sure what that angle was going to be till I got it up closer. Anyway, so I got that, I marked that at an angle, and I'm just going to cut that out with a handsaw. If you look at the stave itself, you can see that it goes from just losing about an inch here to probably an inch and a half or so back here. I'm not too worried about this end ear here where the crow. I've gone ahead and scribed the front barrel stave to the front post of the chair, and then I've gone ahead and cut out and scribed the back barrel stave to conform to the back of the chair. So all I have to do now is I needed to notch out this front section, this cross brace, to fit the stave coming across. One of the problems I ran into, though, on this particular chair, because the stave wasn't super wide, is that I got a little almost too thin here, and I didn't like that. So I really couldn't lower the water anymore, so I just decided to raise the bridge. And all I had to do was turn the stave over and just run the belt sander over it real quick. I took a little bit off, nice and even. Now that I've done that, I end up with a nice even gap along the front of the chair. Before I actually start assembling the chair and screwing these into place, I'm going to go ahead and take the time to put a little bit of stain in between the staves. On the back of the chair, I don't do that because they're so tight it doesn't make a difference. But what I found is that when you're looking down at the chair, because the way they lay open, it's easier to see. So I just take a half a second and just run a little bit of stain, and this just happens to be a Watco medium walnut stain. Run that over the stave real quick so that when people look down in between the staves when they're sitting on the chair, they'll see a nice consistent color. The other thing I'm going to do when I do this is I'm also going to, these runners here, I'm going to go ahead and put my stain on those as well as this front cross piece, so it'll be good consistent color throughout the chair. Once I get that done, I'll go ahead, get everything screwed down. I'll get the edges trimmed flush, all these ears that are sticking out, I'll go ahead and get those trimmed off. And then we'll put in the last brace, and this chair will be done. As you can see, I have all the seat staves in place now. I just evenly spaced them out, took a little bit of creative clamping to get everything held in place, would tip it up, drill my holes, countersink them, and then use a couple stainless steel fasteners in each side of the staves. From there, I just grabbed a cutoff saw, I plugged the holes, used a cutoff saw, trimmed the plug holes flush, and did the same with the staves so that they weren't sticking out from the side of the chair. And now we're down to installing the last two pieces to complete this chair. And that's just a simple brace that's going to go from about an inch up from the base, and I'm just going to use a chunk of barrel stave to hold that in place.
and it's going to go up and attach underneath the chair here. And the plans have a pattern for that, really easy to trace out. You're going to have to describe it a few times to get it nice and tight, fit the chair. To hold it up on top, I'm going to use pocket screws. And once again, these are just stainless steel screws. I'll hold it in place. Insert the screw. Okay, now I'll just flip it up. I'll put a couple screws in from the front side. I found that works better than trying to attach them from the back. And we'll be ready for finish. Well, I did it. I finally finished the chair. I actually started working on this chair back in September of 2011. Normally it takes me about 10 hours to complete a full chair. My original intent was to build 4 chairs. Because of a number of things, including a wife that needed some doors installed, a daughter that needed a bed refinished, and I may have mentioned this before, but then there was a whole broken back and trip to the hospital thing in there. It is now New Year's Day. The chair is done. I didn't get all 4 done, but that's okay. I'm not going to put a finish on the chair just yet because it's the middle of winter. And I would like to have additional chairs done before I start spraying finishes. Also, it's usually less than 50 degrees out in the shop, and I don't like to spray finishes unless it's above 50 degrees. They just don't set up very fast, if at all. I hope you enjoyed this. I will be putting out further podcasts dealing with additional barrel stave furniture here soon. I also have some other projects that I'll be working on and getting out, and we'll see if you like this. Let me know. I would appreciate that. You can email me. Until the next time, keep it level, plumb it square. Thanks for watching.